You won't believe who stepped up when everyone else turned away. It started on a rainy Friday morning in the small town of Glenfield, the kind of town where everybody knew everybody, and strangers were spotted from a mile away. But nobody noticed the little girl standing alone at the edge of Maple Park, soaked to the bone, clutching a pink unicorn backpack and staring out at the street like she was waiting for someone who'd never arrive. Dale, Tank Whalen noticed. He wasn't the kind of man people expected to play the hero. A grizzled, broad-shouldered biker with long gray hair, a thick beard, and tattoos from wrist to neck, Tank was the president of the local Hells Angels chapter. Most people in town avoided his gaze, whispered when he walked into the diner, or hurried across the street when they saw him and his crew riding in. But that day, as he rumbled past the park on his Harley, something about the way the girl stood there, lost and trembling, tugged at something deep inside him. He slowed the bike, turned around, and pulled up alongside her. She didn't flinch. She didn't even look at him. She just whispered, "Mommy didn't come back." Tank cut the engine and climbed off, crouching down to her level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Ellie," she said, her lip quivering. "My mommy went to get coffee. She said wait right here. But she didn't come back." "That was 6 hours ago," she said. 6 hours. In the rain. No jacket. No one noticed. Tank felt a familiar ache he hadn't let himself feel in years. Memories of another little girl, a daughter he hadn't seen in 2 decades, flickered behind his eyes. He cleared his throat. "All right, Ellie. We're gonna find your mom. But first, let's get you somewhere warm." He took her to the clubhouse. His brothers looked up, confused and wary when he walked in with the girl holding his hand. They weren't used to seeing kids around, let alone in distress. But they didn't ask questions when Tank gently wrapped her in a dry towel, gave her hot cocoa, and sat beside her while she explained again. Her mom's name was Carla. She had brown hair and wore a red coat. That was all Ellie knew. No phone number. No last name. No car details. It was like she'd vanished. Tank called the local police, but they dismissed it at first. "We haven't had any missing persons reports today," the officer said. "Could be the mom's just running late." 6 hours. Tank growled. "In the rain. That little girl's freezing." They agreed to send someone by. In the meantime, Tank and his crew did what they could. They made flyers. They asked around. A couple of the younger bikers rode to every coffee shop in town. No one remembered seeing a woman in a red coat. The hours passed. Ellie fell asleep curled up in Tank's recliner, clutching his old leather jacket like it was a blanket. He sat beside her the whole time, jaw clenched, thoughts racing. It made no sense. No woman would just leave her daughter in a park for half a day. Something was wrong. Tank thought back to what Ellie had said. Her mom went to get coffee. The closest coffee shop to Maple Park was a gas station 3 blocks away. And there'd been a robbery there that morning. He remembered hearing about it from one of his crew. A man with a mask. The cashier had been knocked out cold. What if Carla had walked in at the wrong time? By nightfall, Tank had had enough. The cops still hadn't done anything. He gathered his brothers and laid it out for them. "We're gonna find her. Tonight." They hit every place within 10 blocks of the park. Tank rode with Ellie's unicorn backpack bungeed to the back of his Harley as a symbol. Something about it softened people's faces when he pulled up to ask questions. The rough biker wasn't just riding. He was riding for a little girl. Finally, around 2 a.m., one of the crew called in. "Tank, I found something. Abandoned house, edge of town. There's a car matching the description. Engine still warm." Tank was there in 10 minutes. The house was a crumbling, boarded-up mess that hadn't seen life in years. But through the back window, he saw something move. They broke in. Inside, they found Carla. bound to a chair. Bruised but alive. Ellie's mother had walked into that gas station just as the robber had left. He'd panicked, forced her into her own car at knife point, and made her drive around looking for a place to hide. He left her in the abandoned house, promising he'd be back. She had no idea what happened to Ellie. She thought she'd lost her. Carla wept when they untied her. When they brought her back to the clubhouse and Ellie saw her mom, still wrapped in Tank's jacket, she screamed with joy and ran into her arms. The whole place went quiet. Even the roughest biker looked away, wiping his eyes. The next morning, the story had spread like wildfire. For once, it wasn't about a bar fight or a highway brawl. It was about a biker who found a lost girl in the rain and refused to look the other way. About how the Hells Angels, feared by most, had done what nobody else had, listened, searched, and acted. The town changed after that. People started showing up at the clubhouse with food, clothes, and thank you notes. The mayor held a small ceremony at City Hall, where Ellie handed Tank a handmade card that said, "Thank you for saving my mommy." Tank didn't say much. Just nodded. But he kept that card in his jacket pocket from that day on. And something changed in him, too. He started mentoring kids in town who didn't have fathers around. Opened a garage where he taught them how to fix bikes and engines. Some called him a hero. He said he wasn't. He said he just did what any decent person should do when they see someone hurting. But deep down, he knew that little girl had saved something in him too, something he thought was long gone. In the end, the toughest man in town became its softest heart. And every time someone saw him riding down Main Street, Ellie's pink unicorn backpack still strapped to the back of his Harley, they didn't whisper anymore. They smiled. Because sometimes, the roughest roads lead you right where you need to be.